A chainsaw roars through the cold air of a Canadian boreal forest. Snow hangs on the branches. A tall pine trembles, cracks, and falls into the white ground. For a moment, there is silence. Then comes the smell. Fresh sap, crushed needles, wet wood. That sharp, clean scent people call the smell of nature. But what if it is not just a smell? When grass is cut, leaves are torn, or bark is wounded, plants release chemicals into the air. To us, they may smell fresh and green. But in the plant's world, they can act like an alarm. Something is attacking, prepare to defend. For most of human history, plants were treated as background, scenery for animals, wood for houses, grass under our feet, forests to walk through or harvest. They did not run, scream, or bleed like animals. So we assumed they did not experience anything at all. But silence is not the same as emptiness. Modern plant science has shown that plants are far more responsive than they appear. They sense light, pressure, gravity, moisture, chemicals, injury, and the presence of other living things. They communicate through roots, fungi, airborne signals, and electrical changes inside their tissues. The question is not whether plants react. They do. The question is whether those reactions feel like anything from the inside. Pain, in animals, is not just a signal. It is an experience, the unpleasant inner feeling that tells a body something is wrong. Plants do not have brains, nerves, or a spinal cord. That is why many scientists argue that plants do not feel pain the way humans, dogs, whales, or birds might. But plants do have signaling systems. When a caterpillar bites a leaf, the plant can send a wave of chemical and electrical activity through its tissues. That signal travels away from the wound and tells the rest of the plant to prepare. The plant cannot run, so it fights differently. It may release defensive chemicals, change the taste of its leaves, warn nearby plants through airborne signals, or shift energy away from growth and toward survival. If animal pain exists partly to make a body move, plant damage signals exist because the body cannot move. A wounded plant does not flee. It prepares. Even stranger, some plants respond to anesthetics. A Venus flytrap normally closes when tiny trigger hairs inside its trap are touched in the right sequence. But under certain anesthetics, that response can stop. The plant does not close. Its electrical activity is disrupted. This does not prove that a Venus flytrap is conscious, but it shows that plants are not simple green machines. Their bodies process the world, even without a brain. And nowhere does that feel more powerful than in a forest. In British Columbia and across northern forests, researchers have shown that trees can be connected underground through fungi and roots. Many people call this the wood wide web. A forest is not just a crowd of separate trunks. It is a living network. Through these underground connections, trees and fungi can exchange carbon, nutrients, water, and chemical signals. Older trees may be deeply connected to younger ones. A stressed tree can affect others. A damaged tree may trigger changes beyond itself. Above ground, the forest looks still. Below ground, it is active. Roots touch fungi. Fungi connect roots. Resources move. Signals spread. Under the snow of a Canadian boreal forest, what looks like silence may actually be a slow conversation. That does not mean trees think like humans. It does not mean a pine tree feels pain like an animal. But it does mean the old picture of plants as passive objects is wrong. They sense. They respond. They defend. They connect. So, do plants feel pain? The most honest answer is, probably not like animals do. A tree being cut does not likely feel the sharp agony a deer would feel from a wound. A blade of grass does not likely experience fear the way a rabbit does when chased. But maybe the mistake is assuming pain must look like our pain to matter. Plants live in a different kind of body. They are rooted. They cannot escape by running, biting, hiding, or crying oat. Their survival depends on sensing slowly, responding chemically, sharing information, and enduring damage with oat movement. So, if there is any inner world in a plant, it would be nothing like ours. Not panic in muscles. Not a scream in the lungs. Not fear in a throat. It would be slower, stranger, and almost impossible for us to imagine. This is where the idea of qualia matters. Qualia means the raw feeling of being something from the inside. What it feels like to be a dog smelling the world, a whale hearing through dark water, or a bat seeing with echoes. And maybe, if plants have any form of inner experience at all, what it feels like to be a tree rooted in frozen soil, sensing light, water, injury, neighbors, fungi, season, and threat. We do not know if that feeling exists. Science has not shown that plants are conscious in the way animals are. But science has shown that plants are alive in a deeper way than most people imagined. They are not furniture. They are not scenery. They are sensing, signaling, responding, connecting, and defending themselves in ways hidden from ordinary human perception. So, the next time you smell fresh-cut grass or pine sap in a cold Canadian forest, pause for a second. That scent may be beautiful to you, but to the plant, it may be part of an emergency message. A chemical flare. A warning moving through the air. We may never know whether a tree feels pain, but the absence of a scream does not prove the absence of a world. And when you walk through a forest, you are not walking among wooden statues. You are walking through a vast, quiet network of living systems older than human language, older than firelight, older than the stories we tell about consciousness. A forest does not need a voice to be alive. And maybe our mistake was thinking silence meant nothing was there,